Okay. All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome to another Boilon video. We have here today Mr. Hartgrave. This is actually this is the second time that we've had to run this. Not going to go over that. Yeah, I screwed up. But here he is, Mr. Hartgrave, once again, even though you're not going to see the first version of it. We're here to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly with Marvel Strike Force in 2021. This is a bit of a year-end roundup, I guess, and that's what we're doing in today's videos. So hopefully you'll all come along with us and say, hey, Mr. Hartgrave.
Hey, good to see everybody again.
So let's get things started here with the good. Now, I don't know which one of us is going to start first. Who wants to start now? First.
Prepared now.
Yeah, okay. So you go first then, Mr. Hartgrave. What do you want to say for the good things that happened in this game? I know, there's some.
There's like one. The one good thing that happened, okay, which should have been there from day one, and the community asked for again and again and again, to the point where we even stopped asking, so it was a surprise when we got it, was the ability to download all the assets in the background on Wi-Fi. Thank you. Finally. And they've had this ability to turn it on, by the way. It's been there. Just like a lot of these features are. They're there. Like sim raids, right?
Well,
them on tomorrow.
That's hidden somewhere in the background. Yeah, Greek raids, please. Just give it to me. I need to reduce my screen time. That'd be great. So in case people don't know where to find this, it is in the advanced options. There's actually quite a few things in the advanced options that some people may have missed out on. But right at the bottom, you do get download all assets on Wi-Fi. And this is really great, especially post-patch. You know, for whatever reason, we have to download all of our assets every single time, and it's a pain in the ass. And you might notice that when you're like, I don't know, scrolling through your roster or your blitz, and then you see like on the bottom corner, you get like the downloading crap. You know, so now just do this after the patch comes out or any hotfix. Do this, and hopefully this saves you a lot of time. And also, there's lots of other great advanced options in here if you need to click them.
It's a feature that's literally in all other mobile games, so it's very nice that we finally got it.
Yeah, it took a long time, but hey, we have it now, and I believe they actually even took it away at one point because it was like bugged as usual, you know, Scopely. So they did bring it back though, and now we have it for good, hopefully.
They don't make a lot of money, so it's understandable.
And I think there's another advanced option. See, I don't see it, but you tell me about the graphics, right? You know, because we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, if you have a high-end device, then you can enable 60 frames per second, which is pretty cool. Doesn't make it look like a modern game or anything, but it, makes it look raids are a little faster, which is nice for all those timeouts.
Yeah, well, actually, that's a really good thing. So in terms of like timing out, like, do you notice that maybe it's like moving a little bit quicker for you to like get through some of the animations? Does that, because for some people that could make a mountain of difference in some cases when you're just riding the line, on some tough raid nodes. So that could be quite significant. Fortunately, Fortunately on BlueStacks, it's not there yet, but maybe we will see that. I think Cerebro actually said that they're going to be talking to BlueStacks support in the near future, so hopefully that comes to BlueStacks and we can get that. I have a shitty phone, so no, it's sometime in 2022, maybe in the early.
Just like API integration.
Yeah, so we don't have that yet here on BlueStacks, but hopefully we will soon. Unfortunately, my phone is not good enough, so I don't have it. I'm running a crappy iPhone 8, so I'm still quite a ways out on my devices, but maybe I'll get that one day. I need a new phone, so that's basically what I'm saying. So my good for this year is actually all about character rework. So I think they did actually really good, especially starting with the Shadowland rework, or the Shadowland team with the rework for Daredevil and Night Nurse and Elektra. And I like that the way that they improved the base stats on a lot of these, kind of once terrible characters. Night Nurse, was pretty terrible for a very long time, but then we got additional reworks for Heroes for Hire. Probably are going to talk about that a little bit later, for reworks for Luke Cage and Iron Fist. We got the Infinity Watch with Gamora and Nebula, and then more recently Weapon X, Web Warriors, and Ravagers, for what it's worth. We're not going to really talk about Ravagers, but, hey, at least they did get a nod. They got a fairly significant base stat rework, so I think this was all in all a positive thing. You
You
know,
also got Uncanny X-Men in
yeah,
there, and then earlier, I believe, was it this year that Punisher got the skill military kind of?
Yeah, I'm kind of skipping over that a little bit because it's riding the line there between 2020 and 2021. But yeah, you're right. Red Guardian was released here.
A good buff. It's a good buff on Punisher.
It was a good buff for Punisher, but it was very T4 heavy, and I have different thoughts about Skilletary overall, so I left that one out intentionally. But this does give me, you know, good reason to believe that they might fix or, you know, improve more characters, you know, like Kingpin. I really want to see like a Kingpin villains city team or something like that. The Hand, Scientist Supreme maybe alongside MODOK, Iron Man. I think Iron Man really needs a lot of love.
Iron Man's like #1, yeah.
So quintessential Marvel, and yet he never, you know, he got that power armor, but it just didn't really hit the mark, you know. It just, the other characters were better than him.
Yeah, well, putting Vision on that team instead of Iron Man was a better team.
Yeah, it was just, it's crazy. So hopefully maybe in 2022 we might see like a nod to some of these characters. That'd be really great. And at least I know that the base stats will keep up with some of the current content. So that's kind of good to know as well. So that was my starting off with the good, because we got to start easy here with some softballs before we get to the bad. So let's talk about the bad. So Mr. Hartgrave, let's go first here. The bad.
Yeah, last time I wasn't ready, but this time I am. The bad for me, well, not even for me, but just something I noticed for new players. I mean, the new player experience in 2022, straight up, is bad. And one thing they could have done to improve it was when they put Captain Sam on a node, they could have replaced Captain America, that early Heroes node, with Sam Cap, and just made the new game so much better for new players, but they decided not to.
Yeah, I was trying to find out. I have my blue sacks in the background here. I think it's in Nexus like 1, isn't it? Like, I forget where Captain America actually is here in this.
I think it's like here.
Yeah, actually it's Nexus. Here we go. Nexus 1-3. Yeah, but that's still pretty early. I think it's like level 20-ish, level 20, 30-ish. So it's still very early game. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's a bit unfortunate because there's all of the, and just going through the chapters, you know, there's all of these kind of, you know, some are okay, but a lot of them are pretty garbage. And
the whole thing's bad.
It kind of misleads some new players thinking that some of these characters are good, like Groot's on Nexus 2-9. You know, I could go back into the Heroes chapter, and some of them are okay, but a lot of them just aren't worth shard farming. But you wouldn't know that if you're a new player, because it's kind of hard to know who... There's a lot of characters, right? It's really hard to know who's good if you haven't played the game before. And so that makes it a little bit tough for the new player experience.
That's why they gotta like and subscribe.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But if they're not following people like us, then they wouldn't know some of this stuff. You know, they see, I don't know, Shocker at Heroes 3-9 and be like, oh, he's great. But, you know, it's Shocker. So, probably Bullseye at Heroes 4-9, you know. So they think, oh, maybe I should get these cool characters. And even, like, we talked about Iron Man. You know, some of these characters who are so quintessentially Marvel, but some of them are not good. Or bad. Or just really awful. So...
I tell you what. Years ago, when I first unlocked Iron Man, I thought, okay, now here's a character that's going to be good.
Yeah. And lo and behold, he's not. And I feel bad because, you know, when I'm on my baby account and I run through Arena or RTA and I run across these people with, like, I don't know, like your tier 12 shitty characters. And, like, they probably just didn't know any better, right? You know, they just didn't know, you know, who was good or how much more powerful other characters were. And I think that we're gonna talk about this a little bit as well, so I don't want to say too much, but my bad is that no villain characters other than Weapon X came to Marvel Strike Force 4 2021. So we had, other than Dormammu, I'm not really counting him because of its exclusivity at Dark Dimension 5, and realistically, I don't know, only a handful of people have him. So we saw Weapon X, Silver Samurai, Lady Deathstrike, and Omega Red, you know, one of them being a legendary. And that was it for 2021. You know, everyone else was a hero. Crazy.
So many great villains that they could put in. I mean, there's so many great villains.
Like, I off the top of my head, you know, well, MODOK is one I really want to come to the game. But you know, I'm sure there's plenty of villains we don't have yet that could be coming to the game. And like we're not
so many Spider-Man villains that haven't come to the game.
Right, yeah, Sinister Six, so that was a bit of a missed opportunity in my mind, you know, because we had, you know, and maybe some people, I know the Web Warriors, especially, you know, Spider-Gwen, she's really popular, you know, but I would have loved to see more Sinister Six, you know, like a Kraven, a Lizard, a Sandman, something like that, right? You know, and part of that movie, you know, the No Way Home. I almost got mixed up on the movies there, but it didn't happen, so that's a little bit unfortunate. I really wanted that one to happen. But everything else is just pure heroes, like heroes. Here's a hero. You get a hero. You get a hero. Everyone gets a hero. You know, it's just like basically that's how it is. So, you know, even the next patch, you know, people are, you know, speculating that patch 6.0, unless they jump to 5.10, but I assume it's going to be 6.0, is speculated to be Excalibur, which is more heroes. You know, so when are we getting some villains? Please. And so that's a little bit of a complaint, a bad complaint for me. Yeah. But I also want to talk about the character Power League, because we were talking about that a little bit. Particularly new characters. You know, we saw this starting with Silver Surfer here. If I can find him, patch 5.2, Silver Surfer.
Now,
and
is it still bad, or are we?
This is my backup bad, but I still want to. Before we get to the ugly, I want to talk about this a little bit here. So, Silver Surfer, Kestrel, the Eternals, these kinds of characters. You know, we saw, and to some extent, Heroes for Hire and War Defense. We saw a real big jump when it comes to power creep or leap or whatever you want to, mountain leap for the Eternals, whatever you want to call it. You know, it was so bad for the Eternals that the devs admitted that they were too strong and that they kind of had to back things up a bit so future releases would not be as strong as they were, you know, because they didn't want to continue this trend. So I kind of want to talk about very briefly about how, you know, maybe this might have devalued some of the other characters even around these other patches, and, you know, previously good characters that we don't really use anymore as a result of this kind of stuff. So it's kind of the beginning of an end for some characters anyways.
Yeah, it's good and bad in my opinion, because what it lets you do as a free-to-play player who hoards a lot of materials is you can just jump on new characters and level them all the way up, even at 3 stars, and have them beat everything else, which is kind of crazy and kind of a cheat code, really, which is nice if you play that way. However, it makes you ignore a large portion of the characters. Like, it makes it so there's really only 20 good characters at a time.
Are we nodding to Icarus when we talk about beating the crap out of everyone here, the Eternals?
Icarus and Cersei totally replaced Silver Surfer and Adam Warlock.
Yep.
You don't need them anymore. Which is ridiculous. They're new. But
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
But even at 3-star, like you said, you know, just as the bare unlock, they just wipe the field, you know, from basically everywhere you can use them. I think it was kind of crazy. And the first time that, like, 2 characters could do what previously would have taken, like, 5 characters. You know, like, we're talking, like, you know, a whole team, right?
I get all the pictures of just Cersei in a cars estimating war teams by themselves.
Black Order, just the 2 of them in there, you know, triple punching up on war. Like, it's just bonkers, right?
Nuts.
Oh, man. But you're right, though. It is good for new players in the sense that it's a little bit of a reset. So if you're jumping into the game, I guess, and you happen to get Icarus, it's like, great. You know, you're just going to zoom ahead now at this point, you know, with those characters.
I do tell people if they missed, like, if you weren't here for Kestrel,
yeah,
good luck.
Well, that's really interesting because that's when I started my baby account. So I think that, like, I wonder if this is planned, like strategically planned, because, like, you know, there are some of these really powerful singular or duo characters where if you start around this time, it really pushes you forward. Like, Kestrel is a good example because I started my baby account specifically at this time because I wanted to know, you know, how fast Kestrel would push my progress, and it did. You know, because she was usable quite a bit everywhere. And I assume that if you start around the Eternals patch and you got Cersei and Icarus, probably the same thing would happen there. So maybe you're going to see something like this every, like, 5 months or something, you know, where you're going to get these, like, super OP-ass characters, you know?
Well, that's my advice to people, is just to hoard up and wait for the next meta jump and then jump on it. Instead of trying to catch up, because catching up isn't something you can do on Marvel Strike Force.
Absolutely.
It doesn't happen. Like, I think I was telling my family members over, like, they were like, what game are you playing? I'm like, oh, it's Marvel Strike Force. They're like, oh, can I play with you? I'm like, I don't know, do you got like $500,000? Like,
and that's hardly a joke in some cases.
No, it's not a joke. Like, my roster would cost like $500,000 if you bought it in game with the in game means to get to my level.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that. You would go on the black market and buy an account. But even then, you know, it's going to set you out, you know, a couple $1,000s.
Yeah. It's just, it's tough because some people do ask me, you know, like, should I start this game now? And it's a tough decision because it's just, maybe it's because it's, I don't know.
If you're not competitive at all,
it's tough.
Just don't care. Then it's fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't even recommend it for people who spend a lot. I don't know. It's too much to get to the state. I think a lot of people do just buy accounts at this point, you know, and then just build up from there. I would have a hard time. I'd have a hard time telling people. Yeah, I'd have a hard time telling people to start this game fresh now.
Drop a couple thousand. Come join me in my alliance.
So
come spend your entire holiday blitzing.
So this might actually lead a little bit into the ugly, but yeah, surprisingly, that's just the bad. So let's start talking about the ugly then now, and let's go you now this time again. So you start fresh here on the ugly.
So we're talking about Power Leap, and that I think maybe that crippled the game. I think what really killed the game was the Isotope 8 requirement. To take Isotope 8, require it to be at level 4 for war, level 5 for raids. It makes it so when a new team comes out, or like a rework comes out, like they just did with Uncanny X-Men, which I would really love to try in raids. I would love to take that team. My team's fully built because I'm a veteran player. I have all these characters at like tier 14 fully maxed out. I don't have the Isotope 8, so I can't do it. It's a war attack team.
And the better thing about that is, of course, Phoenix, right? So Phoenix doesn't really benefit from that, but yet, if you want to use her in Doom Raid, you have to take her to 5, because only she, base Phoenix benefits from it, but Dark Phoenix does not. So
fix it or address it ever. Like, oh my god.
Looking at my Uncanny X-Men here, like, I don't have Phoenix to 4. I have her at 2. Storm's at 2. Cyclops and Colossus are 4, but I would have to put a lot of investment to get them to 5, you know, just to get them into Doom Raid, you know, to even try.
Aren't bad. Like, I just did Cyclops and Colossus last night because you have a Protector and a Blaster who are underused.
Yeah.
So you kind of probably have that. Whereas you look at Brawlers, Controllers, like, just forget it.
Mm-hmm. And then coming up, if we do get that Excalibur rework of Psylocke here, I have Psylocke on my screen. You know, she's a brawler, and we're just on the back of a ton of brawlers from Web Warriors who are, you know, Doom Raid characters. And I'm like, do I have spare green ISO to get her to 5? I don't know. Probably not.
You don't.
Know, by the time I, you know, do all my Web Warriors.
If I don't, you don't. I
mean, so
like,
it's just it's tough. It shouldn't be easier to get blue ISO than green ISO, I think. And that's a weird backwards bottleneck, because, you know, for us who are rating like Doom 1 or Doom 2, you know, and especially Doom 2, you know, I find that actually I'm pretty healthy when it comes to blue ISOs and ISO orbs, but I can't speed up my green ISO progression all that much unless I want to core it, which I don't recommend you to core energy in the ISO campaign, because I just don't feel the return value is very good there.
I think the thing they did with green Isotope 8 this year is that they made it so you can get your required stuff done, but I can't do stupid stuff. And I want to do stupid stuff. Stupid stuff is fun stuff. And when they don't let you do that, the game is no longer fun. It's just ugly.
I guess that's a combination of the restrictions being increased, but also the green ISO availability hasn't improved enough to reflect that restriction. So that's kind of
enough so that I can do all the new characters, but I can't go back and do old ones.
Right, and so that's a bit of a problem there. So maybe they'll address this in the new year. Who knows? That would be nice, though, because I would like to, even just for kicks, you know, just to try to see if I can, you know, theory craft something better, you know, with some of these characters, but I just can't because I don't have the ISOs to do that. So that was a good one. So
killing Fury Craft is very ugly, because that's kind of the game.
Absolutely.
It's a game where you take characters. The selling point is, here's a game, bunch of characters, put them together, form your favorite teams, the ones that we want you to build.
I kept talking about Storm in previous videos because I actually really wanted to, she's kind of a raid character, right? You know, I wanted to play around with her a little bit more, but I just can't get her to green 5. Or she's a controller. A lot of people are controllers, you know. I just can't spare the ISOs to take her to 5 to kind of play around with her, and that's just the unfortunate part. Maybe one day it'll get better though. So I'm gonna move on to my ugly, and that's gonna be talking about Whale and Kraken events and milestones. Now I want to start off though, and we're not going to play the video, but I have this old YouTube video of mine here. This is the Lunar Festival, what I called. I forget what the milestone was called exactly, but it required you to spend power cores, and it was just a little bit tone deaf. We started with the tone deaf stuff. You know, I think it really started
That one.
here, but
They were nicer back then, and they listened and they fixed it. They didn't. Do
yeah, they
that.
did. You're right, they did. And so that's why people thought that they would kind of, maybe if people complained enough, that they would. And we're gonna move on from the Lunar Festival because that was bad. But then we got the Wolverine, Weapon X, Experiment X, whatever the milestone was
Let's
here.
say real quick, I didn't get to say it last time, but when they reworked the Lunar event, I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was actually really good value for your course. Truly.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but they actually, but there was enough complaints that they changed it, right? So they never did it with this one, and none of the other ones after. So that was kind of interesting. A lot of us thought maybe if we bitched enough that they'd do something, but they didn't. So this is the Experiment X. This was like energy spending, I think, but they, you know, they wanted you to do some really, really hefty energy spending. Like, I can't even see the last milestone, but it was like 7,500 energy a day. I'm like, how the hell?
The bottom, it was $200.
Yeah, like, I don't even know how anyone would reasonably do that. It was 10 or 14 days. I forget how many days it was. But it was just crazy what they're asking you to do. And so this was like Kraken level. And I'm okay in some ways if they tell us beforehand. The transparency is really important. Yeah. And I think that if they say, hey, by the way, this event, you know, you're going to need to spend a lot to clear it. Then I would be like, okay, at least I know ahead of time. You know, but they never really did that.
What was ugly was the community manager coming out and trolling the community.
I remember,
the costume.
The Reddit post?
That was pretty ugly.
The Reddit post? Yeah, what was it? It was something like, you're not a Cthulhu, you're something.
Well, who has the money for this kind of event? You know, what kind of Kraken has the money for this event? And then our community manager goes, this one.
Yeah, it was not good.
Nice.
Not good. And so I kind of want to lead, and I don't have a photo for this one, but Thanos Giving. So I can't talk about events and stuff without talking about Thanos Giving. I think this was like the creme de la creme here. But it was really bad, but so bad that, like, I'm not sure what's going to top it. I know something will at some point, but, you know, I just can't without... We've talked about it a lot, you know, probably on both of our channels, really.
I did a full video. I do a video every Friday live on Twitch at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I do everything wrong with Marvel Strike Force, and that week the whole episode was devoted towards Thanos Giving.
Like, that was horrific. And just talk about the, you know, because you probably talked about it a lot. So let's talk about the orb really quick and like some of the stuff around that. You know, bring that up really.
Ugly. I mean, this is the ugly part: is that they sold you a loot box. And they didn't publish the drop rates. Mobile gaming has like no official regulation on it, but it's self-regulated. And one of the self-regulations that all the app stores adhere to is that if you're going to sell a loot box, you have to publish the drop rates. Here, Boundless Scopely decided to not do that. I really hope they got into trouble with it. I know I complained. My complaint was taken very seriously. They probably got a little slap on the wrist, but I really hope they got that slap.
Let's hope. I mean, but clearly they haven't learned their lesson on predatory offers, because here behind me is on the first day of holidays, MSF offered me 1 gold orb and 10k gold. So now this was the first one, of course. We're up to about day 4 as of recording this video. There's going to be 12. Day 4 was it jumped up dramatically. Actually, it was like $1 and then I don't know 3 and then
doubling every day.
Yeah, and then we got like a tripling. We got to like $20, and now who knows what 5 is going to be, right? But what they were offering in that 4 out of 12 was like armory orbs and teal ABCs, you know, and that's probably where a lot of the value came from, but it was just garbage, right?
I mean, I added it all up. I took all 4 offers. I looked at everything that was being offered, because, you know, I consider buying everything basically, and then I don't. But I looked at everything. I added it up. It was worth approximately $0. No dollars of value whatsoever. None of it.
All of it was stuff that you could get in the game. And, you know, but this makes me wonder, though, you know, what is the total price tag going to be by the end of the 12? But it's so predatory because they're forcing you to buy, you know, the first one to get to the second, and so on and so on. And so when you get to that fourth day, you know, where it jumps so dramatically, some people, you know, some really heavy spenders or people with problem, you know, there is, gambling problems, kind of things like that, and they might end up buying it or be like, I want to get to the 5, I want to see what the 5 is, so they buy the 4 even though they don't need it or want it. You know, they think that something is going to be better at the end of the rainbow, and so that bothers me.
Yeah, no, that definitely gambling addiction is very ugly. That's why I put a link down at the bottom of most of my videos, if not all of them, with a link to fully remote video game addiction counseling, where people who understand that. So if you feel like that might be you, I would urge you to check that out. And we haven't confirmed it yet, but I don't think, I think like if I decided I wanted to buy all the offers on one day, you might be able to do that. So there's no real reason to buy these. Just follow, like, and subscribe here. You're going to show us all the offers, right?
I'm planning on doing probably a part 1 and a part 2, talking about the first 6 days and then the next 6 days. But you do have, because we're on day 4 and there's 9 days left. So yeah, I think there's like maybe 2 days where you could buy 12 back to back.
There's no way the value is going to be here.
No.
So far, I just don't see it trending to the point where it's going to be worth it at all. So if you were on the fence, or if you're already if you've already bought 4 of the offers, stop.
Just wait for that day 12 when we get the $1 Elite 7, right?
Even
for those people who got there.
Like, I think I was telling you when we were first talking about it, I'm like, offer number 12 would have to be like 300 Kestrel shards and a free 7 red on Kestrel for it to be worth anything. And even then, I probably wouldn't buy it, because like with the power leap and power creep and all that kind of stuff, it's nothing that they could sell me in game would be worth anything 3 months from now.
Well, we all know that there's still people out there who do buy stuff like that, and that's the unfortunate part, because this, at the end of the day, is very predatory still. They're not telling us in advance what it's going to be, and that's hand in hand with kind of the Thanos giving orbs, that it bothers me that you don't know.
Don't care.
Yeah.
They don't address it. Like, when's the last time we've been talked to as a community in the vlog?
Yeah, I really don't like this, and I think a lot of people didn't as well. This particular, like, this chain of offers, and so I wanted to bring that up really quickly as we end the video, because I think that's pretty ugly for me personally, and I know there's lots more ugly, and maybe we'll talk about some of that on your channel, because we got one to do there. So if you guys want to have more Boilon and Hartgrave, go check out his channel. I'll be leaving a link in the description below. I want to thank everyone for coming out to the video, and I want to thank Mr. Hartgrave for coming to the Boilon channel, and of course, until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later.
Keep
Boilon and Mr. Hartgrave signing out.